Adam, what's up, buddy?
Not much, Frank. How you been, bro?
Good, good. I appreciate you being on.
Absolutely.
The
Thanks for having
first
me.
ever, first episode of Focused Free Fit.
I'm the guinea pig, right?
You're the guinea pig, man. You know how we do it.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
well, I'm glad you're on, and looking forward to talking about you and what you have going on with your business and a bunch of other stuff. It's gonna be fun. We'll see where it takes us.
Absolutely.
Why don't we get right into it and tell me why you picked the gym business? Tell me, you could tell us a little bit about you, and then I'm interested to know why the gym business?
Why the gym business? Honestly, going
If that's
back,
a great way to say it.
yeah. I mean, the fitness business, the gym business, yeah. Growing up, I was bullied a lot. I'm a little guy, 5'5". I think I started high school. I was 98 pounds. I'm sure a lot of guys, women, everybody listen, they probably have gone through similar stuff. But anyway, bullied growing up, and in seventh grade, I had a bully, break this forearm, my left forearm. My brother had gotten into lifting weights and exercise, and he was 2.5 years older than me. My mom was married 3 times, father was married twice. So for many years of our life growing up, we didn't have a father figure. So after being bullied quite a bit, my brother was just tired of seeing me, basically with my head up my butt with my own pity party and life sucks and we don't have a dad around and stuff like that. So, he literally pulled me into the gym in seventh grade after this incident and said, you know what, you're gonna start lifting weights, and you're gonna start getting confident in yourself and who you are, and go from there. And so, here we are. I just turned 50 9 days ago. I walked away from a very high paying job at 34 to pursue my passion of fitness and helping people build their confidence, because when you have confidence, you really can do whatever you set your mind to. I think that's the foundational thing. If you don't believe in yourself, it doesn't matter. So that's really how we got into it. It's been a pretty interesting path and journey, because when I started, it's like, hey, let's open up a gym. I had no business experience, no acumen. First person in my family to go to college and graduate. Both my parents are blue collar workers, but they poured into me to try to help me go to college because they, thought it would be a better life. But that's really how I got into the gym and the health space, because I had no confidence growing up. And really, I didn't have any, in my life, I didn't have like a mentor or a father figure to lean on. I know you have a child, so you can probably relate to that too.
It's really interesting. So it kind of, what was your business before you got into the gym business? What did you do?
I didn't have any business. I was a government contractor.
Government contractor. Okay. Well, I mean, I didn't know what you did, so that's what I
Yeah.
meant. Okay. So government contractor. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So unpack that a little bit. How did you make such a big leap? Because I feel like you went from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, I
Working
did.
as a government contractor to just going on your own.
Yeah. So it's a funny thing. So my parents, which probably a lot were, hey, go to college, get your degree, and we've all heard this. Any book you've read, it's like, get your home, white picket fence, and have your wife or your husband or whatever, and have kids, get your dog, and happily ever after. So anyway, we're in Virginia here. I'm about an hour south of Washington, D.C. I was going up and down 95, that commute thing. Um, Graduated college, got my first job out of college from a buddy of mine who opened up a door at a company, who and started doing that. Worked my way up, got my Microsoft certification, my Cisco certification, all of this stuff, became an Oracle DBA, and did all this and was getting raises. I mean, at one point, I got a $50,000 raise at one pay cycle because I was getting educated and growing. But then I just got really tired of going up 95. Like the commute was an hour, and then it ended up being, after years, like it would be 2 hours some days one way. And it just really hit me one day. I'm like, man, I am spending so much of my time just in my car, and it sucks. And at that point, I wasn't really doing car university. I wasn't doing Audible books and reading, like Tony Robbins stuff. I wasn't doing that stuff. I was just listening to the radio and music. So if I could go back now, I would have definitely done that sooner. But I really just got tired of that. And I realized it wasn't for me. money wasn't making me happy. And that was my realization. I was tired of getting, sitting in traffic, and it was the same rigmarole. I'd go out Friday night with my girlfriend at the time, sleep in Saturday, go to the gym, cut the grass, go out again Saturday. Sunday was doing laundry, cleaning my clothes, ironing, getting ready for Monday. And I sat there one day, it just hit me. I was like, this sucks. Like, what am I doing? So I had read some books, I think some Tony Robbins books and stuff. And it's like, hey, what is it I really want to do? And the one thing it always came back to, I loved the gym, and I was training some people, but just not in the business aspect. It was just friends and family. And it really made me happy. Like, my happiest time of the day was being at the gym. So I was like, well, hey, I want to open up my own gym. And I remember telling my wife that at the time, and she's like, you're going to do what? You've lost your damn mind. Like, are you crazy? So that's really why I chose it. But what was hard is I thought about it for a year, Frank, a good long year. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't just leave my job. I need to have an income. Because when I quit my job, I was making six figures at the time, 4 weeks paid vacation, 11 sick days. It was a government contracting job, pretty cushy job, right? I mean,
yeah. So
I was like, all right, what am I going to do? Well, at the time, one of my cousins and a good friend of mine, they both owned franchises, Pepperidge Farm. Some listeners may or may not heard about Pepperidge Farm cookies, and they have Pepperidge Farm bread. My cousin was doing this. He was a CPA. He had quit being a CPA and bought this Pepperidge Farm route, and he liked it. He didn't work nearly as many hours as I did, and he was making just as much money. I'm like, well, maybe that's an avenue. And then a friend of mine at the time had a bread franchise from Pepperidge Farm, and he had been expanding, and he needed to sell off some territories, a portion of it, because he was just, it was too big for him at the point. And I got to think, I was like, well, maybe that would be, the go-between from leaving my job to getting my gym. Like, okay, I'll get some income and I can build a side hustle. So, and again, Lee, my wife, she's like, well, you're not a hustler. You're not a grinder. Like, have you lost your damn mind? And nobody in my family said, go for it. They're all like, you're going to do what? You're going to leave all this? Why don't you just stay there? Like, the typical mindset, like, be unhappy. You're making money. You got everything you want.
Be safe.
And, be safe.
And
things don't make you happy, So anyway, ended up working a deal with my buddy to buy the franchise. And again, I thought about this for a year. I was trying to strategize, right? About, okay, what am I going to do? And I thought worst case scenario, Frank, even if I'm a horse's ass and I'm not able to figure this out, well, I've got my cousin and I got my friend here to lean on. They've been doing it, right? So I've got some people to lean on, even though nobody in my family and my wife at the time was like, they weren't like, go for it. They're like, you're crazy. Please don't do that. So, ended up buying a franchise. That was really the step between opening the gym. But the real kicker is when I put in my notice at my government contracting job, I was the only one who did the job. I worked on this database. And so when I put in my notice, they're like, well, hey, would you consult with us a little bit until we find somebody? I'm like, well, what would that look like? How many hours? Because I'm going to be working full time running this franchise.
Yeah.
And in the same time, I'm trying to build our gym. So what does it look like? So that ended up, I went up 2 days a week to consult with the government. I bought the franchise, started running that 7 days a week. And then in the spare time, every day was building the gym. So when I left, my days basically looked like this. I got up Monday morning about 3:30 or 4. I went, loaded up my truck for my route. I coached the 5M class here at the gym. Then I drove an hour away to Culpeper, Virginia to run my route. Came back, got home about 1 o'clock. At that time, I was running ultra marathons as well, like 50 milers, 100 milers. So I'd get home about 1, I'd go run. I'd come home, eat, change, and be to the gym by 4. And I did a 4 o'clock, a 5 o'clock, a 6 o'clock, and a 7 o'clock class. And then when I left the gym, I went to the warehouse to load up my truck for the next morning or pull the orders. So I did that for a good 4 years, every day.
It's interesting to me. So many people, I think they say they want to do their own thing, but the amount of effort and I don't want to say drive, but essentially drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the sacrifice. I think that's another one. Look at what you had to do, and I've got the same experiences in my past at some points. But you look at that, it's like, how bad do you want it? We have those conversations all the time, right? When we're talking, and I just, a lot of people don't really think about what it's going to take, the sacrifices they'll have to make to get what they want. And I think that's a big piece of it. Do you feel like you were always that driven, even when you were doing your government job, or no, it's just something that kicked in because you were so excited about doing your own thing, or have you always been that way?
Yeah, I think I've partly always been that way. I remember dreaming as a kid, because again, my mom was the basically an office manager, a secretary at Fairfax Hospital for nuclear medicine and some doctors, but she basically ran the office. And she worked her ass off every day just to put food on the table for my brother and I, honestly. And then Friday and Saturday nights, she was out at the local restaurant bar with her friends because that was her out, like working so hard, trying to take care of two kids for many years on her own, between marriages. My dad, on the other hand, worked for the United States Postal Service, and he just retired, I think 8 years ago. And he had done that after getting out of Vietnam and everything. So he drove a truck for them. And, again, just grinding. So growing up early, I'm like, man, I want to become a millionaire one day to be able to buy my parents a home and take care of them. I think a lot of us have that, like, to be successful, to take care of, what our family and stuff, maybe what they were trying to do for us. And like, man, I just don't want them to work as hard. That was always something that drove me. But I noticed with one of my girlfriends that I dated for 3.5 years before my wife and I, she was one of 6 kids, was one of the hardest workers I ever knew. When I was in college, bartending and waiting tables at Outback Steakhouse, she worked with me and we started dating. And then I met her family, and her dad worked for the FDA. Great guy. I remember when he would go to bed at night, he'd always be reading. He never said a swear word. He was always doing stuff, working at home and stuff. Her brother graduated from VMI valedictorian. So a very driven family. And I believe some of it was, my own determination, but also getting around people like that, which inspired me, because I wouldn't have gotten into computers, like in college stuff, without seeing them, because they were all into computers. So I think, it was some of my own, but it was also the people I was around. And this, one of the reasons, we had been at Go Abundance and stuff like that, you want to be the dumbest person in the room. You want to up level and get around people like that, because they're going to, not really people want to be pulled along. No, they're going to push you along, right? They're going to lift you up. So it was definitely part of my own. And I think just seeing some of the struggles my parents and stuff had growing up and what they're trying to do. But then it was also surrounding myself with, in my opinion, high level people that got me even more driven,
I want to get back to the schedule, but you said something that I'm curious about. So when you were growing up, were your parents entrepreneurs? No.
Not at all.
How much of that affected what you did, what you do currently today, do you think?
I think a lot of it, I wish they were. Where my wife now, Lee, her family, they're British. They've owned a trucking company in England for 100 years.
Oh, wow.
Like her grandfather started it. Her dad didn't finish school in England, and I think he started working in that business when he was 12. He's 78 now. I learned a lot from him as well. But my parents were not. They were both, when I said I'm going to leave my cushy gov job to go open up a gym and stuff, they're like, you're crazy. Like, what are you doing? Have you lost your mind? They literally thought I was crazy.
So they're more the safe route, the conservative route, making sure, and which makes sense. My parents were the same way. They grew up in a different time, right? Everybody worked at a company, 30 years, retired, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah. Culture, man. Culture and community. You could look at it now. I don't have kids. I know you do, but the culture now. I had I'm in Rotary here, one of the Rotary groups in where we live in Fredericksburg, and one of my good friends I train, he just retired. He's 68. He was a financial planner for 40 years, and he's just a great guy. So I ping a lot of stuff off of him. And he made a comment to me just a couple weeks ago. He said, Adam, like your parents, and kind of on my end, like times weren't amazing when they were, 10. So a lot of them have this where they bought stuff, but they never sold it. Like they keep it, and they never get rid of it. And I look at my parents and like Lee's parents, my God, they have so much stuff, and it's like nice stuff, like China sets and stuff like that, which nowadays nobody really cares about.
Yeah.
But now, everybody wants to be rich yesterday without, like you said, taking time to think about the passion, the drive, the work, the sacrifice. You can do that, but acknowledge like, hey, what you're going to have to do. And it's what, so culture and community is such it's really interesting. And not only just in-house, like our family, but societal, like how all this ebbs and flows and changes over the years, in decades.
I think it's also long-term gratification, right? Your outlook of the future. Like you said, everybody wants it yesterday, but no one's saying like, one of my favorite sayings is, everybody totally overestimates what they can do in 1 year, but they totally underestimate what they can do in 10.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that whole situation.
Yeah, I heard that's I think Tony Robbins said that. Yeah, and a couple other people.
Okay.
Yeah, Tony Robbins did an Alex Hermosi of, Gym Launch and that, and acquisition.com. Give yourself 10 years and you're going to be as successful as you want, but nobody wants to do that. Like 10 years, holy crap. And, at my age now, I'm like, man, you have plenty of time. I met with a girl who was 24 yesterday. I'm like, you can do anything you want to do if you just give yourself enough runway and enough time and just stick with it.
That's it.
Right?
That's
part of it. Nobody wants to stick with it. Nobody wants to take time to say, man, what is it I want to do today? I wish sooner in my life I would have been like, yeah, I love this health and fitness. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting till I was 34. I wish I would have done it at 24.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we're young, man. We got lots of time.
That's right.
Tell me, okay, so let's go back to your schedule. So you had this schedule, you're basically working 3 jobs. How long did it take before you what did you do to get out of the pepper? Well, first of all, how long did you have to wait before you could completely say, okay, I'm going to stop doing the admirable thing here. I've given you a year to help transition someone else in the government job. And then did you go to 2 jobs, or did you also at that time say, buy to Pepperidge Farm? Like, how did that all play out to where you were at gym 100% of the time? Or yeah.
I think so leading to like all this, and this might be a blur as I walk through it, but I think 2 things over the whole thing and even now are the difference makers. Taking time to think about what you want, and then the people you're around. And I'll get to those 2. So again, what is it you want? Like every day we should be thinking about that. Like, what is it I want? And then 2, who are the people around? So let's pause. Okay, well, I got Tom, Dick, and Harry here, and they don't support me. They're energy vampires. They never tell me to go for it. They're always like, you're crazy. You can't do that. And then I got Sally, Jim, and Tina over here who are like, man, go for it. Can I support you? Anything I can do for you? So when I put in my notice with the government contractor, I love the 3 guys I worked with. My boss, his name was Edwin. He worked for Rockwell International out in California when that was a thing, like way back when. He was a retired Marine. I learned a lot from that guy. And you just talk about like, he worked his ass off. And he stood up for you. He didn't take any shit. And then another guy named Ray, who's retired Army. He's the guy who actually got me into running. And then another guy named Mike Sione. And the 4 of us, when I joined their team, they were doing like 2 networks at the Pentagon and stuff. And by the time I left, we were supporting like 20 with different 3-letter agencies. And it was really interesting work. But I'd started hating my job just from the commute, was thinking about it for years. But the main reason I stayed longer is because I loved working with those guys. And I was still learning. So it was a transition of like, man, I hate this. And man, but I love these guys. But when I turned my notice, Edwin was like, he was happy for me. And I was stressing for months about, oh my God, he's going to say, get the hell out of here, you asshole. Like, what, we've done all this for you. And he wasn't. He was very supportive. And he's like, man, go for it. And then he had asked, well, would you mind consulting for some time? And I'm like, sure. What does it look like? So we started doing that. That was, I'd go up there Wednesdays and Thursdays for like 8 hours. And how did I run my route? Well, I would load my truck up and stuff and still do the gym stuff. But I had a kid from my buddy that could help run my route 2 days. He had a little extra time. And this kid was a hustler. He had a full-time job, but he was able to carve out a couple of days. So again, managing people too, right? So it's like crazy. So then as I realized the time and effort I was putting into everything else, I'm like, man, if I keep spending 16 hours up the road, which I'm not including commuting, it was really 2 full days. I mean, I've got to cut something here. So it went from 2 days, and then I was like, okay, I'll go up one day. And then the one day went to like 6 hours. And then went to like, I'd go up one day for 4 hours. I'll never forget, man. I went up there one day, it was a Wednesday, for an hour, and I came back home, and Lee's like, why are you home so early? I'm like, I'm just tired of this. I'm just going to totally quit this. Screw it. Because again, the money they were paying me, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm wasting this time going up the road for $1 when that time I could be putting into the gym, not the franchise, the gym. And that's what I wanted to do. So it was a slow evolution, Frank. But I wish I would have just thought about that and had, like, when I left and he said, hey, do you want to come consult? I never thought he would ask that. So I never thought about it. And I wish I would have said, hey, let's step back. I'm going to put on my notice. What are all the things that could possibly happen? And let's prepare. Let's have a strategy for if A happens, okay, I can do this. If B happens, I'm going to do this. So that's why, again, and I still probably don't take as much time to think as I should, but I do that way more now. So that was that evolution. So then I was working the franchise in the gym. And then again, we didn't know what the hell we were doing running a business. So my wife got into a little bit about, hey, we need to hire a business coach because I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm tired of like not making money. And it wasn't about money. I'm passionate about it, but where's the light at the end of the tunnel? I don't want to do this till I'm 80 and have no money to show for it. So, I mean, I could talk to you about that for weeks. It was crazy, but that was really that transition. And then also, as I was trying to spend more time building the gym, I was trying to get more help as I left the Govy job, but then more help running the franchise. So the money I was making at the contracting job, I was paying another kid to run my route so I could put more time into the gym. Mm-hmm. If I could go back, Frank, oh my God, I would have taken a year and just sacked all that money I made as a contractor and just invested it either into real estate, the market, something else. And I would have just sucked it the heck up. Because I have nothing to show for when I paid that kid.
Yeah.
Who really just wanted a 9-to-5, he wasn't driven like me. I would have tried to find somebody who maybe I could have brought into the gym or actually help build their dreams and goals. So that was another learning lesson of the people you're around and who work for you. Like, I want A players. I don't want C players. I want somebody with like a passion.
Yeah. Someone who lives the culture, has the drive, all the things that represent your core values. So total time from when you decide, from the day you got up and said, okay, I'm starting to take action on leaving my government job, to the day you were all in on the gym, meaning like that was the only job you had. How long was that process? Just out of curiosity. Huh?
6 years.
6 years.
I didn't take my first paycheck here for the gym for 6 years.
So I think that's another really important message, right? Not because of how you did it, but because that's a perfect example, again, going back to the sacrifice. I mean, you did all that just to get to the state you're at now, right? Because that was how bad you believed and wanted to do, and you went for your dream.
Yeah.
But that's what I think about.
And it's like, I'll give to me now at 50, it's kind of an easy example. You're into real estate, right? I'm not. I mean, I have some real estate, but it's not what you do. If I really wanted to go like full time, I'd be like, all right, pause. I need to hire Frank and not be like, hey man, you're a friend. Can you hook me up? No. Hey Frank, I'm going to pay you to help coach me. Is it even something you do? If you don't, do you know somebody? The value of just figuring out what the hell you want and then being real. Like, when I have people coming to the gym now, I always ask this. I say, hey, question. How long have you been struggling with your health and fitness? And man, I'll have a range from like a year to since high school, like 20 years. And I'm like, holy crap. So I go, well, hey, you didn't get your degree in exercise science or kinesiology or anything else like that, did you? And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, well, why are you beating yourself up then? What did you expect? And it would be the same thing. If I'm not into real estate, sure, I can go rentals and try to fix it up, but I'm not a handyman.
Yeah.
So if that's what I want to do, why not go hire somebody and say, hey, Frank, could I work with you for a year as your go-to guy and I'll suck it up knowing my vision? I tell people, do that, but don't undercut like the knowledge and the value, respect that and go do that.
It's interesting you say that. I see that a lot as a business coach, and we do a lot of real estate also, but finding someone who's a mentor or that can get you there, right? That's huge.
Yeah.
Tell me about, you said something really interesting. Tell me about, because I want to know what your process is. So I would assume the gym, talk about how competitive it is in your industry. I don't know. I assume it is. Maybe it's not anymore, or it isn't at all. But where you talked about asking people questions. So I know you have a process. I feel like you cover most bases. What else do you cover when someone comes in, and how much, what do you help them with, and how do you cover that? Because I feel like you've always focused on a complete package, right? It's not just about what you're doing in the gym, but tell me that process that you put someone through when they come into the gym, and what does that look like? I'm sure some people want it, some people don't. How does that process work for you?
Yeah. So we run some ads on social media a little bit, which, we've actually cut our budget on it because I think with a lot of AI, I feel like we've been getting like crappier leads. It's just like, I don't know.
Interesting.
Since COVID, man, I'll tell you what, since COVID, and again, I'm only 50. If I was 80 or 20, maybe the perspective would be different. People's heads are up their butt. I mean, I think more lazy and just a bunch of other things. I really do. And that's a whole nother topic. But
yeah,
our process is one, we run ads so they could schedule an appointment, a one-to-one with us, and they come in. If not, it's referrals. And anybody came in. I had a lady come in yesterday, a young girl, 24, and I heard a knock on the door and I heard Elvis bark. And she just looked up gyms and she came in and said, "Hey, I like to know about your memberships?" And I'm like, "Sure, no problem." So our process is, and it took me years to do this because at one point we're just like, man, I just need to get members. I just need to cover my rent. I just need to be able to pay my paycheck. Now I do care about that, but it's like low on the totem pole. When people come in, we give them a 1-page, basically it's a goal sheet. And in that goal, it's like, what have you been struggling with? How long? What do you think is your biggest hurdle? Why do you think you failed in the past? On a scale of 1 to 10, are you just kicking tires right now? Or do you really want massive change? So we ask these sets of questions. And literally when I first sit down with them, I'm looking at the first thing on there. I'm looking at their commitment level. And if they are less than a 10, I just make it a short conversation. It's basically, "Hey, Frank, question. You are a 7 out of 10 committed to transforming your life. Well, why?" And you'll hear all sorts of stuff. And then I'm like, "Well, we're not the right gym for you." And they're like, "Why is that?" And I'm like, "So let me ask you a question. Let's say you come into the gym and you join and you come into a class and it's Friday. It's 4:00 and you come in, you're not feeling it. And then you see Tina over here and Tina comes up and says, "God, Frank, I'm just not feeling it today, man. Hey, let's go get a margarita, dude. Screw working out today. Let's go over here." And you guys leave. I said, "So do you want to surround yourself with a bunch of other people who are 7s committed to themselves to make a change and get what they deserve? Or do you want to be around a bunch of 10s? I want to be around a bunch of 10s. And they kind of get it after that. I said, "So let me ask you again, are you a 7 in your own, like, I'm ready to make a change? Like, are you tired of being out of breath going up the stairs? Are you tired of walking in the house to the man of the house and really feeling like I'm not the man of the house? Like, are you tired of being tired?" Yeah. So because I don't want to waste time. And at the end, these are the top 3 objections we get. "I don't have time. I don't have money. I need to talk to my spouse," which is all BS. Because the people that say they don't have money, they don't budget. You know this. The people that say they don't have time, I'm like, I didn't realize you were Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos with $1 trillion companies. You don't have time, really? And then the people that say, I don't want to, or I need to talk to my spouse, I'm like, aren't these your goals? Like, this isn't your husband and wife's goals. Yeah, but he takes care of all the money. Well, does he know how much you're struggling and that you felt like shit for 10 years? Well, and I'm like, no. Well, you need to go home and have an open conversation and be honest with them. So anyway, it's like, that's our process because I don't want to waste my time with somebody who's just going to throw me a bunch of malarkey. But it took me a long time to get there where, I mean, honestly, I can sell them. I have enough sales skills now. I could absolutely sell them, but I don't want in 2 weeks them to have buyer's remorse.
That's right.
And then it wastes more of my wife's time because she handles cancellations and all the memberships.
Yep.
And she hates that.
Yeah.
But that's her.
Well, it also takes up time where you get 2 months of payment maybe because from a business standpoint, but they suck up your time from other people who really need it. And you could have maybe just taken the time to get one person who's going to pay for
Correct.
years.
Yeah, and build that. Like we've been open 16 years now. My longest member's been with us 14. Crazy,
Yeah.
and that's an ebb and flow too. And this would be something I'd say for anybody listening, whether they're my age or older or younger, is again, your target market and the standards you put in place are huge. And there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. Um, you know, you can retire and be successful in real estate. You can retire and be successful with a franchise. Maybe you're part of a fire community who at 30 you want to be retired and not have a bunch of stuff, and you invest on your own. Totally cool. But what is it you want to do, and how do you want to get there? And it's also okay to evolve and change. I love Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger, I'm reading one of his books, The Tao of Charlie Munger. And I just read this part, and he said, I think success has to do with reading as much as you can and sitting on your ass.
That's
And I'm
funny.
like, yeah, I love that.
You're like, thanks for the help.
Yeah. Read more and sit on your ass more, and you'll be more successful.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. I love it.
So, okay, let's say we get past that point,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, yeah, man, this is my jam. I'm a 10. What's the process like then, and how does that work for you?
So then we have a scale in here called an in-body scale. We bought that. Another learning lesson. We bought that 8 years ago, and had a member who was in real estate, and we was working a partnership, who agreed she would buy it. We'd promote her.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Well, that fell through in a heartbeat. And
Yeah.
then it was $6,500. And first we're like, holy crap, where are we going to get this money? So again, another thing of like, if you set a deal with somebody, do it black and white. All right, Frank, you're doing this. I'm going to do this. Do we agree? Okay, cool. Big mistake.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's worked out. So we have the goal setting sheet, and then we get them on the scale. And the scale has actually had a great ROI, return on investment, because it shows BMI, how hydrated the person is, their muscle mass, how much body fat percentage they have, like how much actual body fat they have. And it gives us a lot of data for us to help them, but also that I could show you, and like the light bulb goes off of like, oh, wow, okay, I can see that is a problem. And I'll give you an example. A lot of doctors focus on BMI, which is an okay number, but it's just like a point on the journey, right? For you in real estate, maybe it's like, what's this house cash flowing? Okay, cool. But that's not the only number, right? There's many more you need to look at. So we help them understand, like, look, BMI is one thing, and doctors, and remember, doctors, I'm not knocking them, we train a few, but doctors go to school and are taught education one way. And it's not to think. It's to prescribe you this, to do this, to go rest more. That's
right.
it. They don't step back and think. So, but they mainly focus on BMI. I'm like, well, hey, one of the most important factors to your health is how hydrated you are. And that's the first number the scale shows. So we always point them out. I'd say 90% of people that come into our gym are dehydrated. And I'm like, look, if you want to get healthier, you need to consume more water and electrolytes. Easy things to do are also the easy things not to do. I mean, you see me, I just finished this, and I've got another glass right here that I'm drinking water. So I show them examples of that. And then I also go through what their weight is. And normally, their weight is this. And I'm like, well, what's your target? Where do you want to be? And that can be a struggle, because a lot of people come and say, well, I'm not worried about the weight. I just want to feel good. And I'll ask, okay, when was the last time you felt your best? What did the scale show her? What size pants was it you were wearing? Like, we need to have a goal, right? And then mainly the biggest issue we see is their body fat percentage. Like the two ladies I sat with yesterday, and they were just women, they were men the other day, had well over 40% body fat, Frank.
Wow.
Which, just for any of the listeners, and you can do an in-body, you could Google wherever you live, like anybody that has an in-body scale, like a lot of nutrition shops will have them that you can go in for free and do them. But you can also do a DEXA scan, which is quite a bit more in depth, but you'll get enough from an in-body to understand, like, okay, I need to work on some stuff. But a body fat of 35% is atrocious. Meaning, if you're at 35%, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, heart disease, prediabetes, hypertension, all of this, it is coming. And it's not a question of, Will I get any of these? Like, no, you're well on your way, and you're shaving decades off your life if you do not fix that. The highest body fat I've ever had with somebody come in was 52.6%.
You know,
It's insane.
it is insane. So this is interesting. I have been obsessed. You and I are both obsessed with always staying up on nutrition, reading all kinds of books on nutrition. You're in the space when it comes to fitness. I feel like the deck is stacked against the average person, and I just feel bad for them. I mean, look, there's obviously simple things we can do: not stuff our face all day long, not eat processed foods, not lots of sugar, and be somewhat active. So there's simple things. Don't drink Mountain Dew all day, whatever. But I feel like just from like the standpoint of the bread people eat, it's just everything's processed. And so, do you ever have a conversation with people at any basic level? I mean, if someone comes in, they're like that. Where do you take it from there to help them? I mean, do you give them info on nutrition? Do you simply just like, how do you put that plan together for them? Because I feel like it's just basics, but a lot of people just trust that the food on the shelf is safe.
Yeah. Oh no. And if you use MyFitnessPal and just scan stuff, you'll realize like most of the stuff you scan isn't even what the package says it is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. So what we do is, as part of that, getting back again, it's an awareness, and it's actually the person wanting to learn and be educated. So again, getting back to us and our standard, if you're less than a 10, I'm like, hey, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but we're probably not a right fit. Are you really a 9? Because if you're a 9, that place is right for you. And I'll recommend something for you, but this is the place you're going to be around great people like Frank and the listeners of this. And I want you to build relationships, because it's not what you know, it's who you know. So get around people who want to add value to you, want to see you succeed, aren't like, you make how much, you're worth this much, blah, blah. Like, forget that, man. I want you to like push me to be better. So I always give them, and I gave the 2 ladies this, I could have sold them yesterday and got them signed up, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to give you homework for a week, and then I am not going to reach out to you. And somebody listening to this, somebody who's in sales would probably think like, you're an idiot. You're what are you talking about? You should call 9 times. I know, but it's the market and the target of who my client is. So I'm putting the onus on you. And if you call me back in a week, great. Then I know you're right fit. I know you're committed, and now you're coachable. And now I can help change your life, because one person, one event, one thing can change the entire trajectory. Okay.
Yep.
So here's the homework I always give them. And for all the listeners, if you want to live your best life ever and get into shape, another piece of real estate, another car, another home, winning the lottery, that will not do it. And you need to take care of this. You need it like inner peace, feel good. So work on this. There's 4 foundational things you need to do, and it's not nutrition and it's not working out. Everybody thinks it's working out, but they're missing these. Everybody's probably heard, you can't out-train a bad diet, meaning I can't work out at the gym every day for 2 hours and eat Chick-fil-A and McDonald's every day, right? Everybody's like, yeah, I get that. I'm like, cool. Well, you can't work out perfectly, and there is no perfect workout, and you can't eat perfectly, and there is no perfect diet. Okay. So you can't do both of those and get 2 hours of sleep. You can't do it. You cannot do it. Sleep is the number one. And, most people have these in their face in bed or the TV, and they're sitting here scrolling, and they're wondering why they get crappy sleep. And you and I both know, and everybody listening, the blue light, it is meant to keep you engaged. It's like the Death Star. It pulls you in, the tractor beam. Well, you should cut that off an hour before bed, like no TV, none of that. And I guarantee if you start to do that, your sleep is going to get better, because it is not how much sleep you get. It's the quality of your sleep. It's the quality. If you can get 4.5 hours of quality sleep with your REM cycles and everything, you're going to feel way better than if you got 8 hours of broken sleep where you had to get up and pee 3 times and you were thinking about shit. It's just a fact, the circadian rhythms. So that's number one. So I tell people, are you tracking your sleep? Do you know? Are you in bed at the same time? Everybody thinks it's the time they get up. It's not. If you book into your day by going to bed at the same time every night, guess what? You're going to wake up when you need to, feeling rested. So sleep and what time you go to bed are number one. Number 2 is hydration, because most people are dehydrated. They don't drink enough water. Number 3 is getting sunlight every day. If the sun is out shining, if you listen to Dr. Huberman Labs, Andrew Huberman, way smarter than me.
Like his podcast.
Love his podcast. He talks about, sunshine in the morning. If you get like 10 minutes of sun, you're good for the day on a bright sunny day. That sets your circadian rhythms and your sleep. It helps you. Like our eyeballs need sun. I always tell people that come in, I'm like, look, why do you think in the morning when the sun comes up, flowers bloom? They love it, right? They're like, man, I feel good. We're the same. So number 3 is you need sunlight. And number 4, and the last one is you simply just got to start moving every day. And yeah, steps. I used to be a runner, and I used to laugh at people who walked. I'm like, that's stupid. Like, you don't need to walk. You need to go run. No, running's dumb for now because it's just more impact on your joints and stuff. So those are the 4 foundations: sleep, hydration, get sunlight every day, and get steps. And getting back to the sunlight, if it's a cloudy day like today here in Virginia, it's kind of cloudy, you need to be out there for like 30 minutes because sun's still coming through the clouds, but just not as powerfully. But you need that, which is going to help your sleep and help you feel good. It's going to release the feel-good hormones, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all that stuff. And then getting back to the steps, in the 16 years we've been training people, I've seen the sweet spot is 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day. It's not the holy grail, just rule of thumb.
Sure.
I've seen people get less than 8,000. I see their weight start to creep up. So that 8,000 to 10,000 is a good marker. And honestly, that's not that much movement really. Like it's 10 a.m. I've already got 3,000 steps today.
Yeah.
It's
well, you were, yeah, well, for you and I, but I get, I talk to a lot of people that are like 7,000 steps. This is crazy.
That's nothing.
But that's because they're not used to actually being active, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny. You say these things and like the tracking your sleep, for example, it takes effort. It's like anything else.
It does.
And it's amazing how many people won't take, Sleep Cycle is just an app on your phone and then you just put it on when you go to sleep right next to your bed. You don't even pay for it.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how many people don't want to do it and don't want to take the time. And then the water. Oh, I've got to bring water to work. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to stay hydrated all day? And it's really unbelievable. And that's really what I think goes back to your laziness of what you see in your gym. You see a lot of people being lazy.
Yep. It's funny too. So I shared that with them as well, the 4 foundational things. I'm like, then worry about nutrition, then worry about working out. And they're like, really? And I'm like, trust me, if you do these 4 for a week and what you said, like measure those, I have a Garmin, there's Apple Watches, there's so many things. And the irony is I bring it back. I try to do things simple, and everybody comes into our orientations, they drive up in a car. And I said, question. And it doesn't matter if it's a Lexus or if it's a Subaru, it doesn't matter. I said, question, if I went to your car and just ripped out the dashboard, are you going to drive your car the same? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, let's think about that. If I took out your dashboard and your speedometer's not there, your oil pressure's not there, the RPM gauge, your fuel gauge, the temperature, move it all. Cool. How are you going to drive now? You might go down the road and get a ticket for going too slow. You're probably going to be stressing about, God, am I speeding? Am I going? So now you're building up mental stress. When you go fill up at the pump, if you drive a car that has gas still, you don't have a gauge to see if the car is filling up. So you're going to stand there wasting time trying to get a little bit. You're wasting time and money, right? I said, but you're not tracking anything for like the most expensive car in the world. Like we live in this skin every second of every day, of every week, of every month, of every year. How many minutes or hours a day are you in your car? But the average car payment, Frank, right now in this country is $725 at a 6.58% interest rate.
Crazy.
People spend $700 a month on a car that they, spend 2 to 4 hours in a day. But we walk around in this every day and people think they're going to go to another gym and pay $10 and get the results they want. I'm like, it doesn't make sense.
No, it's a great analogy though, a comparison. I think that's really interesting. I think also, you're talking about the fact that people won't spend money on their body. Totally agree. I think it's really interesting that we prioritize that, but even when we have the problems, like all these people that have these problems, like you said, but I think tracking and measuring is where it really goes back to. no one tracks and measures anything. You do because of your business. I do because of my businesses. We track and measure nutrition, fitness, all those things. But if you don't track and measure the sleep, but they don't do that. And so I think it all goes back to that. Hey, what's your system for tracking and measuring? Because if they don't have that, then they won't do any of the other things.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I'm sure you know too. You're around a bunch of real estate people too, and like with red flag. Because I ask other gym owners, I'm like, hey man, what's your like ACV? And if somebody says, well, what's ACV? I'm like, that's your average client value. If they're like, what is that? I'm like, you don't run a business.
Yeah. They don't know.
Yeah, they don't know.
They don't know. And that's not shocking if they don't, especially if they don't run a business.
Yeah, exactly. But you're right. So it's habits. And I try to help people understand, like, look, health and fitness, running a business, anything, it can be just like brushing your teeth. For most people, probably 3, 4, 5, 6 years of our life, our parents, mom and dad were like, damn it, Frank, get your ass upstairs and brush your teeth before bed. Like, I'm 50. At my age, I did get a bar of soap in my mouth.
That's right.
My mom was like, damn it, if you do that again, boop. It was like the Christmas Carol with Ralphie. Bar of soap in the mouth, sitting in the bathroom. Wasn't child abuse.
Yeah.
But it was good love and tough love. And guess what? I'm 50 years old. I have one cavity, which I got it at 40. I still
That's
think
pretty
it's total
good.
crap. Yeah, right?
That's really good.
Like, yeah. But it's because I don't floss and use mouthwash. I just brush my teeth twice a day. That's it. And I tell people, I'm like, so if you get the sleep you need, drink enough water, get sunlight every day, and move first, and it's not hard. You just got to do it and create the habit around it. Then you add on the other stuff and build habits. Like, this, like we both have businesses. If we're not spending some time each day or times during the week to get leads, are you getting any signups? What do you expect? Well, of course not. You know what I mean? So it's got to be processes in that. And for you and I, the business owners, that's one of the things, that's what we're job. We're supposed to be getting sales, right? Unless we have a sales team, or maybe we do. But it's building habits around those foundational things that you need to do. And if people did that, they'd be way more successful. But most people just want the easy way out. They do this, and tracking and measuring stuff, it does take work and effort. But there's so many things now that you can actually do to automate that, which we started doing that, but I don't like that because for me, it was like when I started automating my numbers for the business, I felt my eyes started slipping away from the importance. So I still manually track my numbers every day because like, okay, we need to up this here, or hey, we're doing good there. I need to physically do that for me. But you're right, it's work. It's work.
What do you feel like? So, it's 2024. I can't even believe that.
Into March almost too, man.
I know. Crazy. Jeez. It's a chaotic year for, I think, everybody. I'm curious to know what your top struggles are business-wise. What do you feel like right now are your top struggles in business or just in the market? What are you dealing with that you're like, man, because, there'll be people that are watching this that have a business or want to start a business. And I'm just curious what your biggest struggles are right now, or even people that have already a gym business, fitness center. What do you feel like the biggest struggles are that you're facing?
The biggest struggle we are facing right now, and again, this has been an evolution from my, you learning. When we first started was, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll just try to wing it and I'll just work through it. And then I had to get coaches like, hey man, why don't you do this? And then when we weren't running numbers, like coach, like, hey man, like what's your ACV? Like you need to know this. That fuel tank you have, like you're almost out of gas. Are you going to stop and get gas? Or are you not even looking at it? Well, then you're going to run out of gas and get broken down. And that evolved as we had some good coaches and bad coaches and whatever. Some of the struggles were at some point building a team and learning that. I've been in this with my wife now. I started it and she started from day one with me. So we're co-owners. She's CFO, I'm CEO. We're different. I'm more calculated risk. She's very conservative. And that is learning to work together. Like I'm down here in my office. She's at the end of the building in the other office. We didn't do that for the first 6 years. We worked together. So that was a learning thing. That was a struggle. So in the beginning, it was knowing thyself and understanding like, hey, I need to know me more. Goals, Lee, you too. As we went through COVID, that was huge. The worldwide pandemic. But since then, and still, it's like I told you about 30 minutes ago, people with their heads up their butt. And some may listen to this and say, hey, that's an excuse. I'm not saying it as an excuse. We have really seen, and I believe mindsets have really, really shifted of more people than I've ever seen. Meaning, I don't want to say don't want to work, but not really knowing what I want, haven't taken the time. So the struggle is like helping people understand, like, take time to think and understand, like, what is it you want? What is it you want? And then bringing them on as a team and understanding what you said so elegantly earlier is that you haven't even thought about how much work it's going to take to get there. Now, we're not saying don't do it. So it's finding the right people. We've had a challenge finding the right people that want to join in. And I don't say that's an age thing per se, but on the flip side of that, in that challenge, we've also found more of the right people. It's just been a slower process. Like our newest coach right now, her name is Jackie. She works for a company called McLean. They're a distribution service. They're actually owned by Berkshire Hathaway. You know, they have 22 divisions in this country. Their headquarters is in Texas. Well, she is the division president right here in Fredericksburg. She's in charge of 700 employees, right? She started in the warehouse with them 35 years ago as a warehouse sweeper. And now she's the president of this division. So she's our newest coach. And people are like, holy crap, like, why is she even coaching for you? She has a job. I'm sure she's doing well. Because like you said, she's who we are as values. Like, she's a go-getter. We've helped change her life. So she wants to serve and give back. And she raises us as well. So the people have been a little bit of a challenge. And at some point, Lee and I want to step out of what we're doing here and have somebody come in and run it. That's been a challenge of finding that right person that wants to take those reins and do that at some point. Because our ultimate goal is, Lee's British and her family's in England right now. They haven't been over here for 7 years. And we at some point want to spend, a lot more time over there with them. So getting that person to come in and understand. I know I've gone long with this, but I think it's really, we struggle with some people finding that right person that understand how much work it's going to take, understand constructive criticism. Like, I'm not yelling at you. I'm trying to help you. We're trying to add value to you, but probably going to be a lot more work than you think. But, and if you really want it, like, holy shit, I will help you get there. And our whole team will help you get anything and everything you want, if you allow yourself and give yourself permission to do that with enough time.
I find that a lot of times with a lot of, in the real estate industry for sure as well, and other businesses, employees, and finding people whose work ethic is what it should be and committed, right? And willing to, I hear a lot of people asking about balance, and there just isn't any balance. You can get close, but there's no balance. There's no equal. Something's always going to be shifted more one way or the other.
It's counterbalance.
Yeah. And heck, I do way more than 2 or 3 things anyway. So when you equally balance all 4 or 5 things, it's not real reality.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Okay.
Well, it's funny you say that balance. It's 2 of the things I don't like is hearing people say, hey, find balance in your life. There is no balance. You need to find counterbalance. Prime example is you and I, we're on this podcast. You're giving something up to be here, and so am I, but you're also gaining something from being here, and so am I. It's counterbalance. And then number 2, the self-made man or woman. There are no self-made men and women. I would fill up a book telling you and writing out how many people have helped Lee and I on our journey over 50 years. Thousands. Now, I'm not saying you and I haven't worked our asses off.
Sure.
But neither one of us is self-made. That's total
there's no way.
Crap. No.
Nobody does anything by themselves.
No, absolutely not. And if you get that early, get around people that want to see you succeed. Holy crap, like that are rooting for you, like want you to succeed. I want you to be worth 100 more times than I am. Yeah. No, I think that's at our core for both of us. So I think that's a good thing. I can't believe it because we're coming up close to the end of our time, but let me ask you a question. If you said top 3 books, I mean, you've had quite the journey Mm-hmm.
And what are maybe 3 books that you're like, hey, these are 3 that I definitely think had a big impact on me for whatever reason along your journey? Not so
Yeah.
much, it could be anything, but that really helped you make big decisions or comforted you at certain times, or, hey, this really gave me insight. What would you say?
I'm looking it up now because I have a list because
Yeah.
I
Oh,
want to give an honest answer.
that's so funny.
Um, so the first one, and this is probably my favorite, is it's called, I'm looking at it over here, The Road Less Stupid. And I know I brought this up to you before.
Yeah.
The Road Less Stupid by,
Road Less Stupid.
yeah, Keith Cunningham, because it's all about, and again, I'm not perfect at it, but like taking more time to think. And the book's great. It's like 80 chapters, but each chapter is like 2 to 5 pages. So you could pick it up anywhere and read it. And it's more meant for business. But if you step back, and you can easily apply it to life. So I'll give you an example. In the first page of the book or paragraph, he asked a question, and it was pivotal when I read it. He goes, if I could challenge you to think about if you could take 3 financial decisions you've made that turned bad in your whole life, how much would that have cost you? And I looked at that when I read that book like 5 years ago. It was easy $150,000. And for me, that was a lot of money. And the next paragraph, he goes, oh, don't feel bad with your number, because for me, it's been $10 million.
Yeah.
And I love that. So everybody listening to this, like, stop today and think about what have been 3 of the worst financial decisions you've ever made, and how much did that cost you because you didn't take more time to think.
That's good advice.
And then in that, yeah, he says, always when you have something, what's the upside? Which everybody's like, oh, shiny object, I'm going to do this. And then he's like, hold on, what's the downside? And then most importantly, can you live with the downside? And so it reminds me of Warren Buffett. Rule 1, don't lose money. Rule 2, go read.
Rule number 1.
Yeah, right. So that is my favorite book. The second one is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Absolutely.
That is pivotal. It is just, you need to learn how to talk to people. And then after that, my God, there is a list. And I guess
it's tough, isn't it? Especially when you read a lot like we do.
Yeah, it is. And I'm looking over there now. I got The Road Less Stupid. Probably after that is pivotal. And one of my mentors was partners with them, was The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan.
Interesting.
Because that goes on to understanding we all have a ton to do.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one thing you can do today that would make everything else easier and simpler if you just simply did that, like the lead domino? And it kind of goes back into reading Cunningham's book. If you're taking time to think today, like, okay, think. All right, what is it I want to do? All right, okay, cool. What's the upside, downside? Can you live with the downside? Great. Okay. All right. Now, knowing I want to do this, okay, let's list out all the things I could do to get there. And okay, if I chose one that would be easy to help me get there, what would I work on today? So I really love those 3 books. And then going back to How to Win Friends and Influence People, nobody's self-made. So after you realize what you want, the first thing you need to work on, a lot of other things to work on, how do you influence other people to help you, and how can you help them?
Yep. Love it.
So, yeah.
I'm going to put everything in the show notes, but location, tell us name the business again, just so everybody has it and you're saying it. I want everyone to know what it is.
Sure. Yeah. It's It's Rare CrossFit. Really, it's Rare Fitness now, doing business as Rare CrossFit. But we do online training. We do in-house. We're in Fredericksburg, Virginia. It's right between DC and Richmond, right off of 95. We've been doing it for 16 years. I love what I do, but I'm a Rotarian. I'm on the board with the food bank. We like to serve and give back. And yeah, we just like to help people live their best life. If you're happy in here, life's going to be easy. If you're not, man, life's going to be really hard. So we just try to help people, be happy in their skin again, man. And
love it.
Have sex with the lights on. Take a shirt off at the beach.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. There we go. What's the best way for people to contact you if they ever wanted to?
They can go to rarecrossfit.com. We've got a thing on there that you could, schedule a talk, whatever. So that's the best way. Or follow my Instagram. You can get on there. I do videos and stuff. It's the same thing. It is our Rare CF. So RARECF. That's our Instagram handle.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time today. And
You bet, man.
we could go for another hour. I got lots more questions, but it's amazing how
Easy.
fast
We
it
should do a
goes.
follow-up, man.
I know. There's a good chance we're going to have to do that for sure. So, well, I appreciate it, man. And I appreciate you being on and wish you the best of success.
Yeah, appreciate you, man, and you too. Yeah, I know you're already successful, so more success.
That's right. For both of us.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
Cool.
We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Frank.
All right, bye.